what the plan is, if Ewan can get in at our first game at the Bernabeu, which I believe is going to be against Celta on September 12th, then I'm going to start coming back. That's the plan. So September, I'll hopefully be in Madrid for the first time since too long.
Hey, that'll be great, man. That'll be great. The first game of the season, huh?
First game at the Bernabeu. We'll see. If Ewan can get in the first time, then we're in. We're good to go. We'll see. Because I have cousins now traveling from Madrid.
Let's cross our fingers.
We're
double vaccinated. You know, I took the 2 shots.
Yeah.
You too?
My cousin just landed here from Madrid. She didn't have to quarantine, and she can go back to Spain without quarantining. So I think from a travel sense, it's green light. So now it's just a matter of journalists getting back in the stadium for those La Liga games. Once Ewan gets in, I think the doors open. It's going to be nonstop. I'm just going to basically be there constantly.
Good stuff.
I wanted to ask you, this one is something that I think is really important.
Can I finish the week? And then we're done.
We're like an hour into the podcast.
I know.
What day of the week are we in? Day. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday? Have you gotten to Friday yet?
But don't lose your thought. We're on Thursday now. Hold on. Don't lose your thought though. So that was on Wednesday. Then Thursday, yesterday, I had the Memphis Depay presentation at the Camp Nou, which was 3 hour long, or sorry, I should say 2 hour and 40-minute long presentation of us basically nonstop live broadcasting, talking about our boy Memphis. And
this is only on Barca TV Plus, right?
Well, this half of it was on YouTube. So the exclusive interview, the first 45 minutes was on exclusive on Barca TV Plus. Then the remainder of the time was on all social media channels. So you can go and check it out, and go to my Instagram to see more posts, more snippets of the interview. And why not sign up to Churros y Tácticas on Patreon as well for a little extra content.
Yeah, except these are all patrons listening to this, so.
Oh, don't off subscribe. Don't stop
being
subscribed.
Yeah.
Don't unsubscribe. Yes. Where was that? So the presentation? Now, mind you, I had just taken my second COVID shot, and the week had been manic. The temperatures are scorching. I've been like a lack of sleep. I had all this like adrenaline mixed with fatigue mixed with a shot. Me being deaf since 2 weeks in one ear and starting to pop cortisone every day now definitely has some sort of effect. I've been on meds. I've been medded out for like a month. Then I need to do this presentation, along with Mai. Thank God Mai was there. She's a great talker. What about Memphis Depay? And I love Memphis. It was great. I had a great time talking about him, and I would love to talk about more profound things or deeper things and certain things. However, seeing that this is Barca TV, you gotta, of course, follow a certain editorial line, and you know, you need to repetitive at some. It would even be hard to talk about Leo Messi for 3 hours, you know, let alone in all those conditions that I just mentioned. And I'd only eaten a kiwi, an apple, and a little gazpacho, and I had one little bottle of water given to me by the production team. I gotta say it. And I drank that water at the top of the show, and I was left without water for 3 hours because there was none. And anyway, man, it was just a challenge. And then I finished yesterday. It was absolutely, and today I'm at home. I'm not working today. Tomorrow I'm back in action. But it was just, it was like, wow, this week has just been absolutely crazy. What a week. What a great week as well, though. Seriously, I'm not complaining because these were really fun things to do. This is what we do the job for. It's just normally all these things are maybe spread over a month or, you know, but here it was like one after the other, each day after the next. And yeah, it was intense, but excellent. Just a memorable week. So starting off the season and the preseason in a great way, and I'm happy to talk about all the stuff that we left still needing to talk about because it's a lot. Over to you, my friend.
Do you not feel that that's when you're at your best? Because for me, the more chaos and the less time, the more I thrive. If I have too much time to do things and it's spread out over too long of a thing, if I have too much food to eat, even like to me, if you put me in a situation, usually my trips to Madrid are like get off the plane, go to the stadium, haven't eaten or slept in like 24 hours, Florentino gives me a bottle of water and an apple and a bunch of meat that I can't eat in my little bag. And I'm like, this is me. This is why my purpose on this earth is to.
This is where you thrive.
Is to elevate in. Yeah. And I
rise to the occasion.
I always perform better with less calories. That's always been me.
I think, but that's generally proven to be.
Yeah, that's why intermittent fasting works.
So go. What did you want to say before?
I have my week was not as interesting. I went to last weekend. We booked a trip with the family. So
this was the point you wanted to bring up?
No, this is like 10 seconds. Okay,
go. No, sorry.
I don't need to go 1 hour like you did.
No, I just don't want you to forget that. Sorry, go on.
No, I won't forget that. Got to a cottage. None of this really real. Actually, my sister knew, but she didn't tell anybody on purpose. But we got to the cottage. It's so isolated by a river that there is neither cellular reception nor Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's the spot. That's the spot.
We're talking like 1800s. If a bear attacks, we're all dead. Nobody knows about it. No one even finds our bodies until like 20 years later. And they're like, mystery solved. We found their bodies. No one knew we were there. Anyways, it was fine. It was actually beautiful because when you're forced to detach, you're in nature. You just bond and you cook and all that stuff. Great experience. Anyways, my only anxiety came from, man, what Ramjad Muse am I missing right now? But you know what? That's kind of how slow it's been. It's been so slow that I came back, I checked. There was some rumblings on Varane, but nothing really concrete moving forward, just the same kind of reports we've been getting. And that was it. And I came back, and this week I watched a little bit of Olympics. I watched Brazil's game at the crack of dawn yesterday and caught up on some.
Did you see Spain? Egypt?
No, Spain was way too early for us here.
I was watching that. I mean, Gith already injured.
Yeah, and Ceballos too.
Ceballos, big one, yeah.
He had a good game too before that happened.
Dude, but so you missed the whole audio tape thing? Don't tell me you missed that.
No. The audio tapes were before my trip. That was okay. Like last week now. So I was thinking we might get some more, but we haven't. So you okay?
So what did you make of it? Like, what did you guys cover it?
We did. I went on Iran TV in the UK at 4 a.m. my time.
Good for you.
And I somehow pulled that out of my ass, even though my Persian is not great. But
I would like to know your stance. Break it down for me.
Sure. And then we also discussed it, obviously, on the Managing Madrid podcast and on the website too. My thoughts on
as you should.
It's a very well, that's kind of a vague question, and a long answer can be given. Is there anything specific you're wondering?
So I'm more curious on your thoughts. If you were surprised at all at the revelation, not so much of the players, what he said about the players, club legends, mind you, your Raúls, your Casillas, your Figos, etc., even your Ronaldo, Nazario, that is, of course, Cristiano. I mean, the thing is, we knew all of these things, and we can only imagine what he said, what more he would have said about Ramos and the players on the team now, etc. But what I really would like to know from you guys, and what I would love to have seen covered more, is how strategic he is with the media and his, picking and choosing of putting people in place, and really seeing that he has that power. And that's something, we touched upon it in the past, and I would love to have, I know a Patreon of ours asked if we could get experts on certain topics, physicians and financial people and the financial know-how. I'd love to get somebody on the media side as well that would know more about that and the implications and the importance, and also the power that this man has, because to take down the most viewed show in Spain of Televisión Española. Mind you, this is like the equivalent that we could draw is the BBC taking down or having to take down Match Day, because that's what it is. El Rondo was on Televisión Española, which is the public Spanish TV channel. Supposedly we are the one, we pay your taxes to it, and it's a public network, right? To then have the power to say, I don't want that show to exist anymore. I want these people to come into place, and this person will be my decision maker. Like, he will function in my interest. Literally,
These people will be my puppets, basically.
My puppets, basically, yes. And that, to me, is pretty shocking. And that for me, it also is revealing, not shocking. It's again, I knew these things, but that here listening, one thing is reading about it, talking about it, discussing it, debating it. Another thing is hearing the words being spoken by the puppet master himself. And then you're like, wow, it is how I imagine it is. And that's pretty powerful, and shouldn't be underestimated. And I would like to know your thoughts on that.
So I was very careful not to get caught in the hysteria of it all, because I feel like the reason these were leaked were to create hysteria, and I didn't want to contribute to that. I saw a lot of Real Madrid fans were pretty reasonable about it, and I think the reasonable, rational stance to take is like, what he said wasn't tactful, it wasn't respectful. It either shouldn't have been said, or he should have been more careful, knowing that there's journalists in the room. And, you know, when there is a journalist in the room, like, it's fair game. I don't, unless like everyone goes in that room knowing like, okay, nothing here is on the record, it's not being recorded. You know, we saw like this is kind of a weird example, but I don't know if you've been keeping up with the Kevin Durant stuff at the Olympics this week, but just the
smoking.
No, I don't even know about that, but I didn't see anything about smoking weed, but there's this funny / weird / awkward moment where KD, you know, like when you're shooting hoops with your buddies, if someone scores the basket and you rebound it for him, if he scores it, you have to give it back, right? That's kind of common knowledge.
Yeah, standard.
So KD shoots it, scores it, and one of the players doesn't give him the ball back. He just takes it. And it looked like it was Damian Lillard who did that. And I think Kevin Durant thought it was Bam Adebayo. And then he gets mad at Bam and says, I made the shot. And there's a whole video about this. And it's kind of like awkward. And he's getting mad. And Bam is like, it wasn't, I didn't get your rebound. It was him. And then KD saying some stuff. It was an awkward situation. Anyways, that stuff, somebody on the sidelines was recording the whole thing and posted it. And this became a huge thing yesterday. And anyways, what's the point that I even bring that? The point is that there's always somebody watching your things, watching what you're doing, listening to what you're saying. So the point is, you got to be careful with what you say and where you say it. You know, unless you're really, really sure, you got to be really careful. So that's one part of it. The other thing is that, all right, so the rational fan will say, okay, so these were leaked. It happened a long time ago. And no, I don't. Sorry, I got distracted by somebody coming in the room. Anyway, so the rational fan will say, okay, it happened a long time ago. Some of the stuff we already knew about, by the way, and etc. And there's no reason to make a big deal out of it. And the reason why were these things leaked in the first place? You know, there's obviously like an agenda to push certain things right now for some reason, or to take him down, somebody who's opposing him.
But what are those reasons?
And, you know, and we saw all of the Real Madrid presidential candidates, Enrique Riquelme, for example, one of them, you know, on Twitter, took that opportunity. Yeah, he's a younger guy. Took that opportunity to throw some slander there, saying that this is like the Ramon Calderon regime. It's actually like everyone with their white knight on their white horse, preaching their superiority in those situations. So, you know, there are different reasons why this gets leaked, etc. There's also the other sets of fans who said Florentino needs to go after this. And I'm like, how after this does he need to go? Because this happened and all of a sudden you saw this and you think that that's the reason he needs to go. This happened in 2005. By the way, the Raul and Casillas stuff was
a few things was 2000.
Some of them were a bit more recent. The Ronaldo and Mourinho ones a bit more recent. The Raul and Casillas quotes were actually leaked in 2015.
They were all great as well. It was great. It was a great listen, a great read.
It's entertaining as a Barca fan, I'm sure. The Raul and Casillas quotes were actually leaked in 2015. So they're nothing new we didn't know about. And Raul and Casillas already knew about these things. The relationship that Florentino has had with past Real Madrid legends, whether it's Raul, whether it's Casillas, whether it's Ronaldo Nazario, whether it's even Figo, whether it's even Zidane, he's had rocky relationships with all these figures. This is not a secret. This is public common knowledge. They're all back at the club working with him. So whatever has, happened behind the scenes, they've been able to work together. So if you're leaking these things, that most of these things were already common knowledge, what is the purpose of leaking these things? They're quite outdated and old. The other perspective is, what happens, Diego, if you put a microphone in the room of Raul and Casillas during that time? What happens if you put a microphone in Mourinho's room, and if he's just talking to like Rui Farias, for example, in the hotel room? We already know what he says on mic and on record. Imagine what he's saying off record. So,
the Florentino and Mourinho was, to me, the most surprising. I never expected that. I thought they were ride or die. That's what we were always led to believe, that they had like a brotherly sort of full respect. He was Flo's pit bull, and Florentino had him on a chain and was his ride or die guy. And I don't know. That one surprised me.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Those quotes don't mean all of a sudden they have a bad relationship. Like, how many times do we see?
What did he say? He didn't say anything good or nice about Mo. I forget the exact quote.
No, my point is
he's a moron. He was an idiot.
My point is, all of this stuff is pretty common and ugly, generally speaking, in these institutions. Like, behind the scenes, there's good and bad in every relationship. I get it. There's ups and downs. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? So, like,
but I know the feeling. I know the feeling of getting. Of being a victim of the hot mic, meaning, you know what I'm referring to, and it's not great, not nice to hear people, whether in your professional environment or private life, hear that you don't necessarily expect, or hear certain things about you. That's gonna sting. It's gonna rub you the wrong way. You can talk it out, like apparently Figo talked it out with Flo. All right, we saw that at the Legends game. The reporter was like, "Hey, what did you make about the audios with Flo?" And Luis Figo was like, "We talk about it. The case closed."
I mean, look at all the people that Florentino has had a rocky relationship with. They're back at the club in some capacity.
But listen, you're doing an excellent job at being like the spokesperson of Real Madrid and jumping around.
I'm on the payroll. I have to be.
You're tippy-toeing the question that I asked you, and you're giving me a very political answer. That all the player stuff is like, I knew that's like whatever. I mean, that we all knew that. I asked you specifically about his impact on the media, and being a puppet master. That was the question.
But what? So what do you? I mean, it's a fact. I don't know.
What do you make of that? Do you make that dictatorial type of power? Do you just kind of shrug your shoulders to that? You're not up in arms and say, Jesus, that's quite backwards. I can't imagine that sort of power here in the north of America, in professional organization, sports organizations. Or
I'm sure that power is not necessarily unique to what he's doing in Spain, but it's definitely a power that I will say, like,
it's not unique to Spain, but
I don't love it, but I like how there's awareness about it now. Like, everyone basically knows.
There's not much awareness if you don't even discuss it. Did you guys discuss this on Managing Madrid?
We all know about this. I mean, it's been discussed multiple times. We know what he pushes. We know which outlet pushes what. We know, like, so much of the stuff we see are just things that Florentino pushes. That we know that anytime something bad happens.
Can you imagine the outrage if, let's say it's a hard parallel to draw perhaps, but let's say the Glazers of Manchester United pulled down Match Day from the BBC and put in another show in place that served their interests over the other teams of the Premier League, and basically worked their way accordingly. If it didn't work out at BBC, we'll head over to Sky, because that's what happened. They went to La Sexta, and with the same puppets, with the same people in place, ¿cómo se llama? Ferreras and Giuseppe Derol, put them in place. A very successful product at that. I mean, in La Sexta, both politically and then also in the sports, they've gotten very prominent sport shows and political shows, and very much followed. In fact, even well produced, I would say. You know, the in between, the middleman. Do you know the middleman between that was talked about, that was discussed between Giuseppe Pedrol and Florentino? This guy.
No.
I mean, he's a very influential figure. He has a political show, and he's very good. He's a presenter as well, and I guess he's sort of let's say a show producer. I don't know what you could, like a program director. I don't know exactly what his title or the titles would be, but needless to say, was the right hand man for Florentino in the media, and did so, and has been doing very well.
What if,
and like I said, that parallel with England, I think is maybe that would have more of an impact on people listening, because if you talk about in Spain, then compared to England, that would just cause an outrage. That would cause an absolute shitstorm in the UK and worldwide for that matter. Yet here we're hardly even hearing about it. Nobody's really up in arms about it. Locally here in Catalonia a bit, but again, there's not much of a reach or an impact what gets discussed in the media here, not to the degree of
doesn't everybody know about it though? That like I feel like we're more educated as fans than ever. We know like how to filter that stuff when we consume it. Most people do anyway. Like,
but one thing is Chiringuito, but it's an entire network we're talking about. That starts and stops broadcasting, from dusk to dawn. Like it's not just El Chiringuito, which actually the hours is something where I think it's from midnight to 3. It's incredible. I think it used to be a 3-hour show. When it was Puta Pelota, it was 3 hours. You used to watch it too, 3 full hours of just like glaring at each other. And there's a lot of interesting things. I mean, we don't need to go into detail much more about it. I was interested to know your thoughts about that, but you don't seem jump deeper.
There's nothing. No, it's not about willingness or not. I just don't know how much more you can say about it. We all consume things certain ways, and that's why I generally only consume what I want to consume, and it's usually
then just give me this. If this were Manchester United pulling a match day off of BBC, the Glazers again. Sorry, not Manchester United, the Glazers, the bosses, the owners of that wouldn't. You just kind of be like, well, we know what we consume. That would be your same answer.
My answer would be, well, that's just dumb. Why would BBC accept that?
Because that shows the power of the Glazers, right? Because they enforce their will.
And that power comes from money. So
where does that power come from? That's a great question. That's the question. Where does that power come from?
It's money. So
money, sure.
Yeah. What else would it be? Like, is Florentino going to be like, I'm going to put you in prison and I'm going to ship you to the Illuminati if you don't say yes to this? Like,
I don't know.
Maybe Florentino is the puppet.
You underestimate. You don't think with money comes power, comes also, corruption. They all go hand in hand. Let's not be naive neither. And that's everywhere. That's everywhere, huh? Everywhere in all industries and all facets in life. Anyway, I think there's just a lot of interesting stories that I don't know enough about but that I hope an investigative journalist, the likes of Jordi Évole, who actually works for La Sexta and has fantastic shows on La Sexta, does a great job, and managed to interview Florentino Perez once on when he used to have his show still every Sunday. Anyway, I'm digressing. Let's get back to some other stuff.
I do think Florentino probably has burners like Kevin Durant does, and probably on top of trying to control all this shit, he also sometimes is just on his phone talking shit from different accounts. I think that's on the table probably. Yeah. I'm not even kidding. Because his PR is terrible. He says a lot of wrong things, and he tries to control what everyone thinks about him. And I think people are understanding that now. And he has some good traits and bad traits. Before we run out of time, this is really what I really wanted to ask you. This is important.
Go. Yes.
The Ilaix Moriba situation.
Yes.
I feel like